5, 4,
2, 1.
1. Are we on? That's what I say every time. That's like my thing. How did you say that Anchorman starts?
He always just warms up with "How now, brown cow," or "The Human Torch was denied a bank loan." That's my favorite.
What's that? They had 2 Anchorman.
Yeah, I've actually never seen the second one. I'm a big fan of the first one. I didn't get very good reviews, so I just passed on it.
Today we have
Ryan Doom
from
WebAscender.
WebAscender in Okemos.
Yes, Okemos, Michigan. Yeah, just outside of Lansing.
What do you guys do?
We do website design, digital marketing, and mobile and web applications.
You're the top dog over there.
Yes, I am indeed. But overall, we work with companies to grow their business using digital strategies.
Yeah. So before we get into that, I wanted to go for a quick topic.
Yeah.
You remember Evel Knievel?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you see the article about Travis Pastrana?
Yeah, didn't he jump like 52 cars, 32 cars, 52 cars?
It was the same. It was like that trifecta of what Evel Knievel did. It was jumped over cars, then buses, and then Caesar's Palace.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
He replicated that. I think it was yesterday or this weekend. That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, I was into motorcycles as a kid. Well, still into motorcycles, but did a lot of dirt bike riding when I was a kid.
He's a badass dude.
Yeah,
Evel Knievel.
Yeah, my parents wouldn't let me race motocross, but
No.
I came home with a motorcycle one day and told my dad that he should teach me how to ride it.
What did he say?
He was like, yeah, since I had already bought it, it was like legitimately in a garage sale for $275. I went to the bank, got the money, bought a motorcycle, and walked it home.
What was it, dirt bike?
Yeah, it was just like a little DS80, something like that, little small one.
They made you get rid of it?
No, we had it in the subdivision for a little while, just learned how to ride it in the backyard, and we had some woods not too far from us, and my uncle lived on some property, so about a year or two later, I upgraded to a bigger bike, and yeah. My brothers give me a hard time because they weren't even allowed to own like skateboards or anything.
You still bikes now?
Yeah, yep. Got 2 Triumphs.
Yeah, I was going to say you probably upgraded, right?
Right, yep. No dirt bikes anymore, just street bikes.
Yeah, that's good. Evel Knievel was a good, cool guy.
Yeah.
It's like the coolest when I was a kid. I wanted to be Evel Knievel. Not really, but...
You liked his name.
Who didn't?
You just liked his
Who
name.
didn't?
Right.
So I was watching a little thing that he... I don't know if there's an absolute comparison. Look, Travis Pastrana is a great bike rider, right? He does all the shows. He's probably the best.
Yeah, he's been I don't know how long he's been at it, but for some time, right?
But 20 years. He's like Shaun White for snowboarding or whatever. But I'm not sure that, the technology is quite the same. I mean, I looked at Evel Knievel's bike, and it looked like I don't know what it was he was trying to do that with.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, because Travis cleared these things without issue. I mean, it looked like he cleared them by a good 50, 100 feet with no problems at all. I was thinking you should probably add like 4 buses and, 20 more cars. I mean, because even the bikes nowadays are much upgraded from what they were. Right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'm not sure, was that a world record or anything like that?
It was.
Okay.
Well, I think that, I don't know if it was a world record. It was the only person who had done those three things concurrently. And I guess the idea back in the day is that Evel Knievel was such a, I don't know what you want to call him.
Crazy
such
bastard.
a crazy bastard that he would actually do it. So I see him on this little clip, and he says, you gotta have a lot of whatever to do this, a lot of spirit or something like that. But at the end of the day, you just got to be a man about it. He goes, I'm a man. So he gets up there. I think when he did the Caesars thing, he actually flipped over and was unconscious for quite like a month or something to that effect. Broke his hips and his ribs and whatever else. It was just interesting to see him today.
Yeah.
Evel Knievel.
Have to definitely build in some time between your next stunt. Never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, no, you don't. I think they've been very fortunate now that not as many people, not in that sport in particular, get hurt as much as they used to.
Yeah.
It's a very controlled environment comparatively.
Yeah, they probably can run a lot more simulations too, like know everything about the bike, the trajectory, like all the equations.
Yeah, you look at the stuff Knievel was doing. I was just some plywood, bent up a little bit, and he's just hoping he'd make it. But I mean, at the end of the day, I guess he made 2 of them. He didn't make the 3rd. He didn't make the Caesar's Palace one. That's where he kind of killed himself. Not killed himself, but got nailed pretty good. I was thinking about that because, if you go back to, at least when I was a kid, you play with all these toys, and I think I had Evel Knievel stuff. I don't know what it was. It probably like a little tiny toy or whatever. That led me to thinking about how kids don't really get out anymore. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's for sure. I mean,
that they don't go outside anymore. It's like, I don't know. I think that even started in my kids' generation, meaning you didn't let them out anymore. Scare tactics of the media with all I think there was a lot of information now available. I'm not sure statistically that anything has changed too much in terms of ratios, meaning the number of serial killers out there, the number of kidnappings that occur.
Right. I think I don't have the data either, but I would say it's probably safer now than it's ever been. Yet people are more afraid of everything because of what they have access to in the media and everything like that. It's just bombardment of all the negative stories and stuff.
Well, I mean, this was 30 years ago. You couldn't look up the
sex offender
registry on the web and see the pictures of so on, just everyday people.
Right.
What because you would think every day that serial killers and kidnappers look like something evil, but they don't. They look like regular everyday people, right? So then you're like, no, we can't have the kids go out anymore. Because when I was a kid, I'd just leave.
Yep, I was free range too.
Just go out for
leave in the morning.
Summer,
see you at the end of summer. Right?
Yeah, summer day. My parents would be in by dark,
yeah.
And you still, you wouldn't. And they could come hunting for you.
Right.
You just went out.
Yep.
See you later. I might pop in for a PB&J sandwich.
Yep. Same thing.
Around noon.
Street lights would come on. I'd come home. I'd check in and be like, "We're gonna go back out and play flashlight tag." My parents would be like, "All right, sounds good."
Yeah. See you later.
Boom.
Boom, gone. Yeah. I'm gone. Everything's so structured now. There's a lot of pressure on the kids. And play this, play that, play this. You got to be in this team and this cheerleading and this and that.
The sports system right now is just brutal for kids.
And it's extremely competitive. But then on the other side, you have the everybody wins thing. I don't want to get into all that. I do. Right. You don't win. No, there's a winner and a loser. That's it.
Yep.
Not everybody wins on this team. Not everybody gets a trophy. It's not the way the world works.
Yeah, that's true.
You're setting them up for failure in the long haul to show that mediocrity is okay.
Yeah.
When everybody gets a trophy for losing. So for anybody who thinks that's cool, just,
Yeah, you got to be able to live with your losses as well. It's just as good of a building as winning. So
I mean, they're good learning experiences to lose, right? To fail, to lose. I mean, it's cliche to say failure or so on and so forth. But I mean, the truth is that you're not going to get any better if you think you're great at, failing at everything. I mean, meaning, that you get a trophy for failing.
Right. Yeah.
So that's all. Anyway, the kids can't go out anymore. The only time I saw kids out was about, I think it was 2 summers ago when they were doing that Pokemon Go thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
All of a sudden, the kids came out of the woodwork, and you see them running all over the place.
I didn't even know I had kids in my subdivision.
No, me neither.
There they are.
Right, and all of a sudden, they're like running around the parks, and I'm like, get out of my yard.
Yeah, it was good for adults too. There's like people all over the place getting out, walking around. I didn't get into it.
It was kind of annoying, obviously, but it just lasted that summer and kind of disappeared. I actually saw a guy at a ball game the other day. Not the other day, last week. That was looked like he was in his 20s playing Pokemon Go. I'm like, what are you doing? That's so 2016.
Yeah.
I know, but that's the only time I've seen children out playing. Without their parents, without being watched over, or anything of that nature. Now everything's in a structured format, right?
Yep, and you got entertainment in your pocket wherever you go now. So I went camping this last weekend, and there was a family next to us. The kids were playing great. They were out in the lake doing everything like that, and the parents just had their heads down the whole time on their cell phones. It was ridiculous. Outside camping, beautiful weather, fire going, everything like that. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, why go camping?
I know, it's so strange. Yeah, the kids had a blast. I didn't see the kids messing around on any technology. So
That's good.
yeah, it's great. It's like the opposite of what you would
it's
expect
good.
to see almost out
We
there.
were talking a little bit last week about how social media is actually, in my view, anti-social media, meaning the more you use it, the less you actually talk to people, the less you know people, the less interaction that you have with people, the less intimacy you have with people, the less, all of that. It's no different than in our businesses, the technology and business. Okay, right. Say, for example, are you going to be more effective running your organization if you're talking to people over text, over email, over the phone, through Skype, or in person? You can't replace in-person interactions. It's just, no matter what you do. Well, I mean, so we'll get into like holography someday, and a virtual Ryan Doom will be sitting here.
Right.
All right. But there's nothing like human interaction. There's so much that goes on psychologically with that. And which is why a lot of organizations still demand it. I mean, meaning you come here. We want to meet you. We want to shake your hand. We want to look into your eyes. We want to see your facial expressions. You can't hide behind anything. There's no anonymity about it.
Yep.
It's no different than our businesses. We've met before. We've talked over the phone. We've talked in text. But I mean, you don't get that. You don't get inflection. You don't get facial expressions. You could be rolling your eyes at me when I text you, like, what the hell does this guy want? My God, we've done everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I would totally agree with you, and especially with like even coworkers and stuff, and people working remote. And that, it's like for the longest time in our company, everyone worked in the office every single day, and then we had some employees that either wanted to move to Royal Oak or Metro Detroit area, or significant other was moving out of state for a job or something like that, and now they're remote, and it's definitely harder to like communicate and talk. I had to draw something out on a piece of paper today and illustrate all the stuff out to send over to someone that I could have just explained in person a lot easier. But
I think remote work was hot, like a hot topic about 5 to 7 years ago, meaning because that's when the internet sort of started taking on a new connotation, if you will. It wasn't just go to a website. It was now you could communicate, right? You could use Skype or, WebEx or whatever it may be in order to communicate. Therefore, why do I even need to be here? I find in our business that it simply doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And a lot of our clients, the majority of our clients want people on site. I mean, we're doing different businesses, but
sure,
they want them on site because they want to see them, touch them, feel them, go around the corner whenever they can. Don't feel them up too much, of course, now.
Yeah.
But why is it funny? You can't do anything anymore. Even look at anybody the wrong way, you're going to jail.
You'll at least be reported to HR.
I am the HR department of my company. No. So I stay 10 feet away from everybody.
Yeah.
I'm too close to you right now.
Right. That's a safe way to operate.
Right? We're like 3 feet apart.
Yep.
That's not a good idea. Could happen. No, remote workers, it doesn't work for me. And the productivity. If you're not, there's something to be said for getting out of your jammies and your slippers, right?
Yeah. I mean, for us, we wouldn't necessarily hire a remote worker right out, but after they've been working with us, we know them, all that kind of stuff. We've kind of figured out a way to communicate and talk and that stuff. It's not too big of a deal. So,
if they've proven themselves over time and that they're very productive people, but a lot of people want to come in remote. I mean, they want to come in here and say, I'll work remotely, and you're
Absolutely.
like, no, I haven't seen you do anything. You haven't earned that yet. You need to earn remote work. Regardless of where they're from.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I mean, there's definitely companies that succeed at it. Like,
well, in the telecom and like call centers, for example, it can work, right? Because you're as connected to your agent or as you're going to be as if they were actually on the floor, other than in a supervisory capacity, meaning the technology all exists essentially to see what they're doing, the productivity, the work management, the number of calls they're taking, the computer telephony integration is there, the delivery calls is there, so on and so forth. So that type of industry can handle that. But if you have a remote developer, well, you better darn well know that that person is productive. At the end of the day, the outcome is going to show
Right.
one way or another. But it puts more on management to give deadlines and and report in onto what they're doing.
Right.
So
Yeah. I mean, they could finish a feature in a day when they had 2 weeks to do it, and then just do whatever they wanted for a couple of weeks or something. I guess. Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that there's something psychological to be said for getting up and getting out and getting into the It's an enormous waste of time in a way.
Right.
The commute, if you will, the drill. But if there's going to be, some sort of hybrid approach that's more sophisticated, meaning that you can still have that same sort of human interaction with your employees, but yet not have them wasting 2 hours, 3 hours in the car all day.
Right.
Going to and from work if they work further away. And that increases employee satisfaction, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
But why? It's well, you get to get up whenever you feel like it and put on your slippers and walk around with coffee and act like you're working. And
yeah, nice thing about our area, most people's commutes are like 10, 20 minutes. It's pretty easy to get around. This area is a little trickier.
Well, in Detroit, it would be a bit trickier. In
Yeah.
any large city, it would be trickier. In a smaller capital city, particularly, it's not that complicated. The suburbs are not but 20, 30 minutes from from their work locations. So most of the capital cities, because we do a lot of government work, they just want them there, period. There's no two ways about it. Unless it's a really high specialty technology or business component, they want them there. They basically say, you have to be here, and that's it. They don't even want it. A lot of the interviews have to happen in person as well. When you sub out something to somebody.
Yeah. We've been in business for over 10 years, and we've only been in a couple situations where clients have wanted us specifically to work on site, and we've actually never done it. We're just kind of entertaining it now for the first time.
They want you to come to their site.
Yeah, and work there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's that's for your business. That's unusual.
Yeah, it would be tricky for how we operate and collaborate and that kind of stuff, but due to the size of the project and the specific client, everything like that, we're entertaining about maybe doing 2 weeks there, 2 weeks off, or a week there, 3 weeks off, something like that. So we can still meet some people and do those in-person status updates and review stuff like that and kind of build rapport, but also, everyone can still see their families and everything.
Yeah. So, for the sake of the audience, your portfolio of services is generally what, so they understand the difference between.
Yeah, so
like what we do is Quantum and what you do is WebAssembly.
Right. So we'll work with an organization to figure out, how to help them find more customers or grow their business, and that might be something about building them a new marketing website. It might be building a custom Ruby on Rails application to help them manage how they run their business. Could be building a mobile application, or helping them with digital marketing strategy to get more leads and sales for their business. So.
Right.
Kind of those three areas are where we work. And usually for most of our projects, we can meet with somebody, once or twice early on in person. And then after that, usually just status phone calls and something here and there where we don't really need to be in their world every single day.
But in this particular case, you have a client that's potentially asking you to be on site.
Right. Yeah.
Is it a larger project than the normal?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big one.
It's a big one. Comparatively, in terms of percentage-wise, it would be like, your average project is 100%. How much larger is this one, potentially?
I mean, long-term, enormous. But even just kind of to start off, probably like 5 times the normal size projects, or maybe more even. Yeah.
Right, so you see whether it might want to have you on site.
Right. Yeah. It's like
you'd have to. You wouldn't use the same crew either. You'd have to bring on some new people. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We'd have to bring on some more people. Yeah. So yeah, we'd have like 1 or 2 of our veterans, and then a couple new people probably for this project.
Right. Sure. Yeah. So, is that something that they came to you about, or you were looking for an expansion of your?
Yeah, it was one of those things where we've done some initial projects with an organization, and then somebody went and started working at this Fortune 50 company, and now internally they can't get stuff done as fast as they are used to getting stuff done with us. So they're like, hey, can I just go outside of our normal internal team and use this company? It's probably cheaper anyways to go this route. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're just hoping to get final approval to move forward with that, and we'll kind of be working outside their normal development route with an outside team to get things done a little quicker.
And you've been asked to do some other things as well outside of your purview, by companies like mine.
Yeah. I mean,
well, WebAssembly, by the way, is just a great company to work with. So I'm going to give them a plug there, and we use them as well. But because of their success and because of the way they handle themselves, we've talked to them about some additional business that's not in their current portfolio, but they're capable of, certainly. But
yeah, that's the tricky part about being an organization like ours. It's like there's some organizations that will just specialize so tightly. Like they might just do, they'd have a huge company just around doing Google AdWords management, and that's all they would do. They'd reject everything else. But yeah, we could grow a company like that, but that wouldn't be fun for me. I enjoy working with different things, doing different things. We're definitely more of a boutique agency in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. So when did you, part of this is the Evolve podcast, and I think it's important for the audience to understand sometimes how people like me or like yourself have, made that leap, if you will. You know what leap I'm talking about. People know what leap I'm talking about. And that is it's difficult to leave your job, if you will, and make that, I wouldn't call it a leap of faith, but calculated faith, and to start their own businesses. And how long have you been in business?
We went full-time in 2007. So paperwork 2005, full-time 2007.
So give or take 10 to 12 years. Yeah. Right. And you were working somewhere before that, I assume.
Correct, yeah.
At XYZ. Was it a consulting firm?
Yeah, it was a consulting company, correct.
And doing the same type of thing?
Yeah, similar things.
Obviously the development was much different back then. But
right, yeah. At that organization, I was primarily writing Windows apps, so desktop applications. And then at that time, I had been doing lots of web development and everything like that, moonlighting on the side, and had been running a web design company, just kind of, sole proprietorship since 98 or something like that, 99.
Mm-hmm.
So I had done a lot of website design and that work. And then the organization I was working for was getting more into web design, and I ended up having to do, kind of sales, the projects, collections, the whole deal anyways. So I was like, it wouldn't really be much work to do that on my own if I had to, and I could always do web design. But WebAssembly today was not actually what we set out to do. So my business partner I met at Michigan State University going through their computer science and engineering program. And when we started WebAssembly, we actually started it to kind of make something like a Squarespace or like a build your own website type of experience. So
that's how it started.
Yeah, that was it. So we had a product where you could go out there and you could click some buttons and pick your design, and boom, you've got a website, and now you can start adding your content. And at the time, we didn't know anything about sales and marketing or anything. We were just geeks who could build the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to meet with people and talk to them about what it could do and everything. And every single person was like, oh, that looks really cool and everything, but can I just pay you to build it? Like, no one wanted to do it. So after 3 or 4 months, we were like, well, I guess we should start working with these companies and taking their money to actually spend the time and build it. So that's kind of how we got back into the consulting world.
So did you make first of all, I always try to tell people that, you have your plan, life has its plan, business is kind of somewhat the same way, meaning, Yeah, anyone who's a business owner understands that the business takes on a life of its own. Kind of, a living, breathing thing that sometimes you don't even feel in complete control of. Or you do the best you can as a CEO or an owner to do that. But so it's not unusual, right, for particularly smaller companies to set out to do one thing and end up doing another based on market demand and what people are asking you to do. And obviously you need funding to continue doing what you're doing. What was that actual moment, though? Was it planned out well on your part, or did you say
when we kind of started to make the transition?
Well, at one point you make a decision in your head, right? You've probably thought about it for however long. I could do this myself, and so on and so forth. And this is what's of a lot of interest to people about how did they make that move. You hear about a lot of things out in Silicon Valley, for example, or New York, about venture capital and angel investments and so on and so forth. But I'm trying to get more down to the blue-collar versions of it, because I started my businesses with nothing. It sounds like you started your businesses with nothing. I want people to understand that it's possible to start. You don't need all kinds of venture capital. You don't need this in order to do it. So at some point you said, you know what, let's go for it. So walk me through maybe the more, go down a rabbit hole a little bit on that decision-making process and of how to leave one company and move to another, to start your own thing.
Sure, yeah. So I was 2 years out of college, and at that, I didn't even know anything about venture capital, angel investing to collect, get money from private individuals or anything like that. So we had our savings. I think we had like $10,000 we pulled together, and we were like, all right, well, we could probably, live off this for 6 months or whatever it was, because our significant others had jobs too. And I don't know, I've always lived like a college kid in lots of ways. I still do. So my expenses and overhead in life are quite reasonable. So I wasn't too worried about it personally, of kind of my runway on how long I could, work on a startup or do something like that. But we were also, 2 years out of college. We were both really into technology and, at the top of our game in the technology at the time that we were using, which was ASP.NET and C#. And there was no doubt in our mind if we needed to go get a job working for somebody else, we could do it. So
that being your contingency.
Yeah,
meaning if this falls apart, being ASP and C# were pretty hot at the time, but still aren't not out of the game yet.
Right?
Either,
Yeah, absolutely.
That you could if this falls apart.
Yeah,
then we can always just go back to work.
Right. Yeah, we'd be out a little bit of money. We could go back to work. It wasn't like we were going to have to invest our life savings into this specific thing. We decided a fixed amount that we were going to put in there, and we were working on our product that was kind of equivalent to like a Wix or a Squarespace. And after about 6 months or so, we weren't really making any money at all. And
did you have the product complete?
We pretty much had the product complete when we started. Yeah. So we were just kind of fine-tuning it, trying to figure out ways to, market it and sell it. And I guess we didn't have it actually complete. We had it pretty far along. So we were working on building additional themes and things like that.
But you had the structures there and the foundations were all there.
Yeah. So
which in that time frame, you would have been hypothetically one of three. Pretty much Wix and Squarespace had the market on.
Yeah, back then you probably could ask somebody and they wouldn't have been able to name a kind of a build your own adventure type of web platform.
Right. And even Squarespace wasn't that well known back then. But
right.
For those of us who were in technology, we found it and figured out how to use it. And they've changed, just as a sidebar, they've changed their platform several times since its original. And those old, I think it was Squarespace 6.
Okay, yeah.
They still sustain it. It's still out there, but things that you built on Squarespace 6 are not necessarily, they changed their themes entirely in Squarespace 7. I don't know what they're up to now, maybe 8, but nonetheless. So you were building that type of product. And
yeah, so then at that point it was just pretty much like sales and marketing of that product. So I was doing everything that I knew at the time, which was limited. I was attending Chamber of Commerce events, any networking event I could, whatever I could do, locally here to talk to people and find an opportunity, or, you know, there were people that I knew that was getting into this and they'd tell their boss about it, and I'd have an opportunity to chat with them. And what kind of naturally started to happen is that people would ask us to, you know, just build a website or just do this, and they didn't really necessarily care what we were doing, whether we were using our product or whatever. They just wanted the end result there. And then it was probably like 6 months into it or so where our funds were running low. My business partner was looking to buy a house and, you know, start a family and all of that stuff. And there was like a day where we were just like, yeah, well, we need to really start making some money here. I don't remember what we did right after that, but as soon as we said that, we started getting big projects, and then it just took off. Then, 6 months after that, we were making more than we were, you know, at other jobs.
I think it's important for people to understand that you have to be prepared, minus any venture capitalists and minus any angel investors, to be prepared for living on ramen for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear a lot of people that are trying to start businesses that want to maintain their current, you know, status, if you will. If they're, let's say they're making, it doesn't matter what you're making, like whether it be 30, 40, 50, 100,000, 300,000, they want to maintain that. The problem with doing that and starting a business is you're automatically deducting from your cash flow if you're attempting to pay yourself too much.
Right.
Put myself on a salary, for example. When the reality is, in order to build a good business, you have to reinvest into the business. Save as much as you can, right? Save as much as you can, hire more people, do more marketing, get more people, so on and so forth. It's a cyclical type of thing, right? You can't just, unless you want to just be a sole proprietor and independent contractor, maybe one or two people, then maybe you can do that. But if you want to grow a fairly sizable company, right, for the long haul,
right, yeah,
paying yourself out of the gate is got to be on the minimum.
Yep, you could take a little bit now and, you know, be a little bit happier with your extra money or something like that. But yeah, if you can delay that gratification, use that to reinvest, hire some people, that kind of stuff, then down the road it'll pay off better.
How'd you feel when you made that decision? Was it liberating? Was it scary for you? Was it?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been kind of entrepreneurial my whole life with different endeavors, and starting a web design company when I was still in high school, just, you know, friends and family and that kind of stuff. But I knew I was always going to get back to it at some point. So it felt good to kind of be in charge of your own destiny. So people always say, like, man, I can't believe, because in general, I'm pretty risk adverse actually in life. So some people are like, oh, that, you know, that must have been really risky to go out and do that. And I was like, it didn't seem like much risk, because I could always go get a job and you're like in charge of your own thing. And I've always had confidence in myself to be able to make something happen. So
I think it's important for people to understand that having confidence in yourself is much. You can have confidence in your business plan, but having confidence in yourself is equally, if not more important. Meaning, like you could. I've written, I can't tell you how many business plans for myself and other companies as well, and they don't play out that way.
Yeah,
I mean, you could plan all day.
Yeah, the bank thought our business plan was terrible. So we had perfect jobs, good credit, all that stuff. We went to get a loan. No, they wouldn't even give us a credit card. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Was it a bad business plan, or the banks don't lend money anymore?
I think then it was more that the banks probably weren't lending money.
Banks still don't lend money.
Like, yeah, we started our business in 2007, like right before the crash. Like, and we didn't know at the time, obviously. Like, I didn't even really recognize at the time that it was such a big deal, or what was even happening when we were starting our business and trying to get out there. And
did they tell you it was a bad business plan, or did they simply say, we're not able to give you a loan?
Yeah, it was just simply that, yeah.
They didn't say why?
No.
They didn't say, look, there's this part of this plan. I mean, the fact is that the banks, they're not what they were 30 years ago. They don't.
And they probably didn't understand a word in our business plan. You know?
Well, it was all technology based.
No,
right?
it was just like, you know, we're going to build these websites, and it had monthly recurring revenue, and we're going to bring on this many people a month and all that stuff. And really,
yeah, but the plan was probably okay.
Yeah, but
in all likelihood.
But I guess if they were to evaluate their risk on that specific plan, they chose correctly. We did not succeed with that strategy.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, they didn't choose correctly on the basis of,
Right.
having a crystal ball to see into the future to know you weren't going to carry out that plan.
Right. But most restaurants don't succeed, so they make gambles on those, I guess.
They do. Most restaurants don't succeed. Most bars don't succeed.
Yeah.
So those are high turnover organizations.
Yeah.
I've always said to people, I'll never get into the restaurant business.
Sounds fun in theory to be like, oh yeah, I've got this bar and everything like that. But oh man,
if I was going to have a bar,
brutal.
it'd probably have like 2 seats, one for me and the other one for me.
Yeah.
For when I'm finished.
Yeah. That's,
I couldn't possibly get into the restaurant business. Seems really just way too chaotic for what you get out of it. A good mom and pop local restaurant, whatever you want to call it, dooms, right?
right.
I mean, you do 300,000, 500,000 a year revenue. You're lucky if you're going to pull, after cost, 60 grand. The margins are terrible.
Yeah, the math's brutal.
The math is brutal. And look at all the things that you have to do. I mean, the management, the POS, the people, the human resources, the ordering, the investment, the food. Oh, my God. I've always said in my entire career, I'll never open a restaurant. If I do, it'll be again next to my bar with 2 chairs.
Right.
And then I'll maybe just put in a restaurant with 2 seats.
Yeah, I kind of regret never having any restaurant experience. I've never worked in the food industry.
Yeah, I've done it. I've worked in the restaurant industry, and it's brutal.
Yeah.
I've been behind the scenes. I worked at a few restaurants when I was a teenager, and it's rough. It's rough. I'm not talking about your average everyday Coney those are rough too, but the short order cooking's a lot easier. I think the Coneys are a lot easier to run, but short order cooking is a lot easier to do. But because you're basically down to X amount. It's like Taco Bell. They have like 6 ingredients total.
Yeah.
They just mix them 50,000 different ways, and mix them out and call it a whatever. I mean, it's a good model. I mean, Qdoba, Chipotle, Subway. I mean, they all do the same thing, right? Minimal ingredients, mix them different ways, and call it something else. And every now and then throw something new in there, and people will be happy.
I think the hardest thing for running something like that for me would be like the human resources and working with the people.
It's a high turnover rate too.
Yeah.
It's constant high turnover. Client service is difficult unless you're running a really high-end restaurant, where you do like a week of training on how to be in a. But when you go to a restaurant, they act like they're annoyed with you, like why are you here to eat?
Right.
You want food? Fine. They don't even care. They'll never get in the restaurant business.
Nobody cares.
It's her own. Nobody cares. That's true. That's a business I'd never get into. What's another business I'd never get into? Bars, restaurants. Retail doesn't really do it for me.
Hey, I've got a buddy who runs a collections business. That would be pretty tough too, I think.
Collections. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, actual collections. Yeah, calling up people and
I worked at one of those
that all
before.
day. That'd be pretty tough in my mind.
I worked at one of those too. I did a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
That means I got fired a lot. Because I was in my teen years. So when I was working in a restaurant, this is how rough it was. I was a dishwasher and I was a prep cook at the same time. It's kind of like a medium level restaurant. Like they served spaghetti and lobster and stuff like that, but it really wasn't that good. Up in Connecticut, and I was a knucklehead, so I was throwing knives around one day because I am, whatever you want to call it. I was a drummer, right? So I was tossing up butter knives and, just like I'm, Tommy Lee from Motley Crue or something. And I wasn't even thinking about it. I grabbed I grabbed one of the really sharp butcher knives that were all over the kitchen in the back. Threw that one up in the air, and I caught the wrong end.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Chopped off my finger. Relax, everybody. They put it back on.
Like, totally disconnected?
Totally disconnected. Fell on the floor.
Oh, my God. That's nasty.
Yeah. Just the one finger. Because my reaction was really quick. So I'm looking at my finger on the floor. And just to let you know that your natural reaction when you lose body parts is to try to put them back on.
Yeah, you just snap it back on. You're like, oh, this isn't working.
Yeah. That's what you do. I picked it up and I tried to put it back on.
Righty-tighty.
Like it was going to snap on. Like a snap-on finger.
Oh, man.
Of course, that didn't work. So I go up, I'm holding it in my hand, and I'm holding it together because that's what feels normal. I go up to the lead chef, and I said, I think I need to go to the hospital. He's like, I probably got a little cut. I open my hand. He's like, oof. Yeah, maybe not. So he grabs some drunk guy from the bar and says, can you take this kid to the hospital? He cut his finger off. Honestly, I didn't really hurt that bad.
Yeah, you got a good knife then.
It was nice and clean.
Yeah.
But the fixing it was not pleasant. You know, I had doctors that didn't seem to care. Meaning they were sticking needles like down into my finger. And like, I'm like, can you like maybe give me something for that? And I was 15 years old.
Oh, wow.
And the after effects were terrible. I mean, just sewing it back on and then going in for surgery. And you don't realize how much stuff is connected to your finger until you cut it off. And then, so screw the restaurant business.
Yeah, just stick to the keyboard, man.
Stick to the keyboard.
That's the way to go.
Not like electrocute me. I don't know. So you took the job, and you were pretty confident about your abilities.
Yeah.
No angel investment, no venture capital. Didn't even know what those things kind of were.
Right.
Not that you're a dummy. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
There was no thought process.
Yeah, I mean, I still...
We're mid-Michigan guys. We're not out there, like in Silicon Valley where everybody thinks everything's going to come up with an idea and sell it for $5 billion, right?
Yeah. Then there were no opportunities then. Now we've actually have a community of people that do some venture capital and incubators and that kind of stuff in our area, but we didn't have anything there. At the time, no.
There is. I kind of tell people to shy away from venture capitalists. I don't think that they understand that it's not just free money. I'm not going to go down that path today. But by the way, for the audience, venture capital is not free money. It's not just give me $1 million check. It's not Shark Tank, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot more that goes into it, and a lot more that you lose, and a lot more control that they have over your organization, and how you operate, and how you do it, and how you go about it. And if you want freedom into doing what you want to do, and you want it to work for yourself, right? Venture capital is not independence.
Yeah, I don't know did you see anything about the FanDuel deal with their VC? I saw a news article in the last couple of days about it.
Also, back me up a little bit. They just recently passed federal laws that permit for gambling. So FanDuel is one of them, right? Is this what you're talking about?
I'm not sure what the regulation changes.
So they had some,
but
okay. So nonetheless, they had some regulation changes. Now FanDuel is one of and who's their competitor? They have a couple competitors.
Something Kings.
DraftKings.
DraftKings. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. So. Go ahead.
Yeah, so again, I mean, I don't have any of this information in front of me. I just kind of skimmed the article within the last couple of days. But FanDuel worked with did a couple rounds of raises.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, I think they were actually going to merge or buy DraftKings.
Yeah, I think they're a little smaller.
And that didn't go through. But what eventually happened, or kind of the title or the summary of this article, was that over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, the venture capital team, kind of took over the board, arranged everything, and moved all of the initial founders' shares to be kind of standard shares, not the higher level shares or whatever like that.
Right.
Then essentially when they sold or whatever their liquidation event was recently, the founders pretty much got hosed. They were like, yeah, well, we had to pay out all the VCs and everything like that at this round, or at this higher level of stock shares. You've just got these normal ones. We're not actually able to pay out any of those. So congratulations, see you
Yeah,
later.
people need to be careful. They have to understand that there's different types of rounds in venture capital funding, ABC rounds, so on and so forth, and different valuations. And you really better know what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Get somebody who knows what they're doing. Now, at this juncture in my career, I do know all that, but I've stayed away from it. I've stayed away from it for a variety of purposes, up to and including I don't want anybody telling me what to do. I just not at this point. Now you're talking about companies that, I mean, I think the regulation probably prompted some of that inspiration. It's a guess, because the regulations, I don't know when they kick in, but the federal regulations change. So all that stuff from like 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, where you have to do offshore gambling and whatnot, is now, I think, coming domestic. All right, so they're able to operate domestically, which I think is putting a push on, of course, states and whatnot to suddenly be into the online gambling area. But it's not to say that venture capital and angel investment don't work for some things.
Right, yeah.
The message to the audience is essentially, you better know what you're doing right before you start engaging in that type of thing.
Yeah,
right?
and I think in a lot of those VC scenarios too, it's like the amount of money that people raise, I just don't even know if they know what they're going to do with it. They probably give away a lot more than they need to, and they could probably bootstrap a lot longer than take on, $50 million or something.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's debt. I mean, it's not free money.
Right, absolutely not.
People want it back. Right, it's not venture capital. Is not just here. Right. Here's $6 million to go do something. We want our money back exponentially, and we want control of the organization, and we want a seat on the board, and we want to chair it, and then all of a sudden you're not running your own company anymore. Right.
Yep. If they wanted small gains, they would just go in index funds or something. They want the 10x.
Yeah, go into a mutual fund and get their whatever, right? That's not the kind of gains they're looking for. They're looking for exponential gains. They want to put $1 million into it and get 6 back out, within a pretty short time frame. A lot of pressure in that game as well. Not that you could put pressure on yourself if you're motivated enough to do what you want to do. But seeking independence is getting VCs not really the way to go. So you make the leap, you grow it. You start off, and this is 10 years ago.
Yeah, we started off in a spare bedroom in a rental that I had.
Yeah, it's like it's a perfect story, right?
Yeah.
Start off in wherever.
Yep, simple and easy. Then we would pretty much code in the morning and work on our product. We'd toss the football around in the afternoon outside, and then get back at it again. Now, now we're still pretty small. There's 15 of us now.
Right.
It's slow and steady.
It's boutique, but you have a great group of people that are very knowledgeable, very reliable, very good at what they do. Maybe a small company, but right now, but most companies are.
Yeah.
I mean, in this audience and myself, the majority, it's cliche again, the majority of the companies in the U.S. actually are small companies, right, to actually run this place.
Right.
More so than the conglomerates. And it's important for people to understand how you grow something like that. It takes tenacity and determination and timing, and I wouldn't say luck, but things fall into your lap. You got to know where to make decisions and where not to make decisions, what to accept, what not to accept, not how to expand too quickly. There is such thing as, getting too big too quick.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing that you just touched on briefly there, is that I feel like a lot of our success has been around saying no to the right things. Like there's been scenarios or opportunities and stuff like that where you don't necessarily feel right. You don't know what it is, but you're like, this deal or the scenario or something's not right about this, or it's too risky, or it's at the end of the day, it's not going to benefit your company more than just maybe a little bit financially or something. And saying no to the right things for us has been probably the best thing. Because I've seen a lot of those projects that I've said no to, somebody else picks up or does or works with it, and I just, later down the road hear that it just went terribly or this happened or whatever. So
I think that in our organizations, I have multiple, of course, but I think we say no for every. We say 99 no's to every yes. And I'm not talking about proposals where people have come to us. We do a lot of government business, and we have to look at a lot of requests for proposals, right? And there's processes that we go through that are semi-calculated, and then gut feeling about whether we should do it or not, whether we're the right partners or not, and so on and so forth. And we give 99 no's to one yes, just about every time. And we've been asked to do a lot of business where we say no too.
Yeah.
The same applies in business in general when you're doing technology projects or business projects. You got to know when to. You know what's difficult is that, and I don't want to get too much into this today either, but a lot of the reason for failures in particularly enterprise projects, I'm talking about the large HR, ERP, supply chain management, customer relationship management, infrastructure projects, is because a lot of consulting companies don't know how to say no to their clients when they should. They don't direct them properly. It's unfortunate, again, that consulting firms. If you want to get the real version, this isn't a plug for my own company. You should work with a company like ours because our philosophy is we're just going to tell you how it is, right? If you want somebody to come in there and yes you to death, and give you just exactly what you're saying without any consultation. It's like, why hire consultants if you don't want consultation? Well, the consultation in many cases that's a really bad idea, right? This is the way you should be doing it. And we say no to them quite a bit. Not no, like, no, no, you can't do that. At the end of the day, it's their money. We would advise you didn't do that. And we would advise you do it this, but we always provide an alternative and say, you're better off doing it this way, right? A lot of the big firms nowadays, they're just yesing them. And what happens is you end up with these perpetual enterprise projects. They just go on for years and years and years. And our audience would know the word change control more than anybody.
Right.
Right. And one change control after another, millions and millions and millions of dollars, when a lot of that could have been prevented from the get-go, either via contractual obligations and or better requirements and designs up front. Knowing when to say, look, you're building a behemoth here that you're not going to be able to sustain on this platform. Technology is moving too quickly. This is not upgradable anymore. You know where a lot of people are in enterprise systems now, and they can't
right
anymore. They've bastardized the systems essentially, meaning they've made them into
customized it too much, where the core platform can't even be upgraded anymore, or whatever.
You can't upgrade anymore, so they need to get off of it. And that not only goes for legacy systems, i.e., COBOL and whatever, but also for client server systems. Like the Vantivs and the Siebels and all those that were out that are still sitting out there that need to be upgraded to the cloud. That they want to upgrade to the cloud, but look what they did to things like Siebel, right? They just customized they used it as a framework essentially, no different than they do. They're going to have this problem again later, by the way, all right? Because they're doing the same thing with Salesforce. And Salesforce is being used as a framework essentially for custom development.
Yeah, absolutely.
As opposed to using, say, for example, AWS or Azure, where you'll have more likelihood to be able to. And I'm not dissing on Salesforce; they have a wonderful product, but it's definitely not being used primarily for what it was intended for, which is Salesforce automation. That's kind of where it started. I want to get to that in a few minutes and ask you a few more questions about WebAssembler as well. We'll take a quick break, though. Okay.
All right, sounds good.
All right. I kind of want to get away from enterprise applications right now. Maybe we
the exciting world of SAP.
Oh my God! Don't get me started. don't get me started. SAP's everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get away from it, Ryan.
That's all I could think of is that you're like, oh, those small projects, or saying yes. It's like, oh, those 1 year SAP projects that take 5. They switch to something else.
We have about at least 10 to 12 clients that are on SAP for everything from all its functions.
Right.
And can't get away from it. It's too costly to get away from it. In many cases, I don't know if you know this, but SAP had suggested, I got to do my diligence on my liability here. Years ago, I think they basically said, rather than trying to incorporate your business model into our software, you're going to need to change your business model to our software.
Right.
Just to accommodate everything that's in there. And what they were concerned about, obviously, is upgradability, right?
Yeah.
The same thing that was happening with a lot of enterprise applications. But they still have a problem, and SAP's everywhere. Well, and they got into the CRM space, not as well as other people. But anyway, let's get away from that for a little bit. So what do people need to think about? Let's talk about small business. Everything from social media and marketing. And I said at the beginning of the podcast, social media in a consumer format, that it's anti-social. But I am a big believer in being business social. I think it's necessary in this day and age in order to be business social. Let's say there's a better part of 12 platforms, main 4 or 5. You've got your LinkedIn and your Instagram and your Facebook and so on and so forth. What do you suggest that people, small businesses, think about when they're first starting up, as far as social media goes, as far as a website goes, and that websites aren't as simple as they seem? I'm trying to drive you into a corner here, knowing what the answers could potentially be. Meaning, when you build a website, there's a certain methodology that you should probably employ, and certain things, calls for action, for example, that people should really think about. Can you give us your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll try to talk about some of these topics a little bit. So typically, I still think of, even though we've got lots of social media and Facebook and all that stuff, the website is still kind of the cornerstone of your digital strategy. And so that's a place where you can...
Can we call it a hub?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, you got to have one hub.
That'll be the hub, and then you might have some spokes off that. So with that, you're going to have information about your business, you're going to have your blog, and you're going to have opportunities for people to contact you or do what you want, your conversion point, your call to action. But so if a small business is starting a website, they're going to have to first think about who their target audience is, and then kind of write their content around that.
Can we go? You talking about the? Let's differentiate, because there's different kinds of content. There's static content, which is essentially what doesn't change on your website. This is what we do, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so that'd be like your services, your products, your about page.
And I think it's important to point out to people that the number of words that you put in there should be minimal, given the attention span of the average. I mean, this is all statistically documented, right?
Yeah, so kind of how we think about that is that it should be broken up in ways that it can be easily consumable because of what you mentioned, that attention span thing. So you might have a large header that's easy to read that summarizes, specifically what you do, and then you might have a paragraph after that that goes into a little more detail that someone could kind of skip over and then read the next paragraph or the next bullets. And you're typically, you're writing for that ultimate consumer or prospect that you want, but if you're being strategic about it, you're also thinking a little bit about search engines and wanting to know that, if somebody searches for your product or service, that you're going to have a chance to show up in Google with it. So So that hub is the website. With that, you're going to have, your content for products, services, about. The next thing you would do if you've got, time and effort is to start working on generating some content. So thinking about what questions your customers or your audience might be asking or wondering about and starting to educate them. So even if you use just the simple strategy of, hey, here's what I do as my static pieces, and here's what I can teach you about my industry, about how we operate, about how we work, and you can put out that content in, say, a blog post form. And then what you can do from there, your additional spokes might be using social media to get that information out. So if you're writing some blog posts, you then might start to use Twitter to connect with people in your industry, people in your area. You might start, putting those blog posts out there. You might start using YouTube and making some videos and putting some of those videos in your blog post and putting those out there. And then kind of just starting to work different social media channels depending on kind of what you're looking to do or what's best for your business.
Well, let's go back to the blogging and vlogging with V.
Yeah.
Because I don't pronounce it very well. The importance of that.
Yeah.
Because this isn't your 2003 type of blog. Right? So blogging is evolved in and of itself. Blogging in 2003 is a lot different than blogging in 2007 to 18. Excuse me, I'm old. I forget what year it is now. And there's certain ways to go about doing that with categorizations, tags, so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
That and those things help in picking up SEO optimization, search engine optimization, so it can get picked up by Google and Bing and so on and so forth, primarily Google.
Yep.
Can you talk about what a good blog post would look like for let's do a hypothetical company. Let's go back to the restaurant, right? Even though they're going to go under either way,
right? Yeah. So if you were doing something around a restaurant, you might say, okay, if someone was looking for, Chinese food in this area, what kind of questions might they have? So it might be like, most authentic Chinese food in Royal Oak. And you could start to tailor content or do blog posts about that, or talk about some of your dishes and how it was, originally from your great-grandmother and that kind of stuff, and put some of those details out there. And that's going to potentially help somebody in search if they're looking for, Szechuan chicken or whatever it might be, or the best restaurant, Chinese restaurant in Royal Oak. Or if people out there on the internet are looking, even if you started sharing some of the behind the scenes of how you prepare your food or you do those things and put that out there, that's going to help you build more of an audience. And those people are going to then share it out there, which kind of builds your total credibility with Google.
And it's important to put the right tags and categories in there.
Yep, it's all about making sure you've got a good title and that you're using kind of some of the terms that you're expecting people to search in your content.
What about backlinking?
Yeah,
within a blog post, backlinking.
So if you've got a blog post that you've done, you might cross-link to some of your other blog posts to kind of give them a little bit of link juice. But the concept of backlinking, or that specific term, is usually when thinking of trying to get maybe some other bloggers to link to your blog post.
Correct.
Yep. So what you would do after you've got that blog post written is you might reach out to a couple other maybe foodie blogs or something like that that talk about some different things and see if there's any way that you guys could maybe collaborate on a post, or you could do a guest post about a specific thing, or maybe maybe you could suggest a Chinese dish that they do and how they would implement that and kind of collaborate with that, and maybe get a link back to your blog post. So kind of working that strategy.
Right, and the reasoning being is because backlinking, the way that Google algorithms hypothetically work, because nobody has the formula, obviously, it's proprietary.
Yeah, I think before it was Google, it was called Backrub, which was kind of like a play on that backlink thing. So it's like the number one factor is quality backlinks and kind of
Backrub.
Google giving weight on it. Yeah,
I want to get a back rub from Google. Maybe some Google people should show up at the house and give me a back rub.
Right.
No extras involved.
Harassment.
Yeah. Again, we're 3 feet apart. We got to be careful.
Right. And now we're drinking beer. So
Yeah, now we're drinking beer, so you're a little bit more,
Yep.
a little bit more loose. I'm not drinking beer. I got lemonade with beer in it.
nice move.
Do they really call it a back rub?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what the original name was. That was probably prior to them trying to sell their technology, Yahoo, and Yahoo laughing at them and not buying them, and then trying to buy them for like $1 billion a year later.
Yeah,
And
where's
people say it now.
Yahoo now?
Right.
Good job,
man.
Marissa Mayer.
There's like,
Boy, did she walk away with a few bucks.
I know. It's me personally, there's not like a single Yahoo service that could disappear and I would care about, and never has. I've never been a Yahoo Mail user. I've just never used Yahoo services.
Not even back in the day.
Nothing.
I use one Yahoo service still, Yahoo Sports.
Okay, so
They have a good mobile app.
I'm not much of a sports guy, but we do a office bracket every year, and I think it is with Yahoo. So I've got a Yahoo account just to do that, and I made a Flickr account. I don't really use it, but that's probably the only other property they own that is of any interest.
That's another
Just
tragedy.
sad.
You know,
Just
a
so
few
sad.
podcasts ago, we did about discussions about technologies that have failed. We were talking about the Palm Pilot and the Zune, and Yahoo just, boy, did they tank.
Yeah, they just seem to, anything that they buy at the Apple, like the absolute apex, and then it just goes to nothing. You know, it's like
Yeah.
I feel like Tumblr's still out there and people are probably using it, but you don't hear anything about it much anymore.
Yeah, they when they bought Tumblr, it was a good idea to buy Tumblr, and they said they were going to leave it alone because there's all kinds of nonsense on there, and the user community wanted to make sure that didn't go away. But that's another. We didn't go over that failed technology, did we?
No.
That's unfortunate. Well, I mean, they're still not failed. They're still out there, but it takes somebody. Really, they need like an Adela.
Yeah.
They got the CEO of Microsoft. They need somebody who's really forward thinking, to even potentially have them come back. Anyway, so that's blogging,
Yeah.
and
then
you got the social media components. And which do you think are the most valuable today to employ? Instagram is obviously a hot one. LinkedIn for businesses. This is again for businesses, not for personal.
yeah, I guess I'll kind of curious your experience with LinkedIn and how you can you kind of think of a scenario where you can pinpoint that, hey, this has helped my business because I'm on LinkedIn, or you've got a lead or a sale or hired someone. Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've also got 12,000 plus followers, but I mean, many of which are executives and technologists and so on and so forth.
So do you regularly use LinkedIn to kind of use the messaging and like communicate with people and talk to them about stuff?
We post about once a week.
Okay.
We don't overuse it, and generally when we post, somewhere between a third and a fourth of that community will take a look at that, which provides for conversation. I wouldn't say, I wouldn't, given the business that we're in, which is, the deals are much larger. They don't just come say, okay, come do this. But it does inspire conversation about here's what Quantum does, or here's what Van Staten Associates, here's what Sugar Skull Software does, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I've always been kind of lukewarm on LinkedIn. It seems like it's just all headhunters and.
Well, no, but you can cut them out. You can cut out recruiters. You can.
Is it like just a click of a button now? Like.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So they can't see you.
I didn't get on that.
Yeah. So with LinkedIn, if you gain it's the same thing as like with your blogs, basically. I mean, if you put out good content, interesting content, content that's useful to people, and sometimes that formula is difficult. It's difficult. Like on Instagram, our companies will post things that you think are going to be hot, and they're not, and post things that you don't think are going to be spectacular, and they end up get the most impressions. And
Yeah, I mean, in technology, we don't have a lot of cats, dogs, and booties.
yeah,
And those are usually going to win out on Instagram.
True. No, that's absolutely true.
Like, it's,
The same kind of goes for LinkedIn, by the way.
yeah.
On the ladder of what you said. So, but we don't post this stuff because LinkedIn's a professional network. Instagram, not so much. But
Right.
Facebook, we don't do too much in there because all the nonsense going on in Facebook and too expensive, and it's too expensive to buy ads and all that kind of stuff. There's much better ways of marketing your company than buying ads through LinkedIn. And, it depends on which business you're in.
Yeah.
Arguably.
Yeah, that's been one thing.
If you're a local pet sitter, right, Facebook's the way to go, right? But not for companies like ours that do business internationally, and I have to buy ads everywhere.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you on that. Yeah, it's sad what, in general, how Twitter, Facebook, everything is kind of like. I love to consume my stuff just chronologically. Like, I don't really care what Facebook thinks is a higher priority, and I don't want to see something in my top post that was from 3 days ago. It's like every time I open my Facebook app, I switch it to most recent. It's just like I just want to see what's happened last couple days.
Mm-hmm.
But they've adjusted, they adjusted all that stuff, and then they adjusted it so even when businesses post out, not everyone sees it because, it's not chronological anymore. So you pretty much have to boost everything or buy ads, and it's a racket.
Yeah, we're in a different business where requests for proposals, requests for quotes, and all that is really more.
Yeah, and I'm thinking when I'm saying this more about Facebook too is we help our customers put ads and stuff, not necessarily for WebAssembler directly, but when we're doing ads and stuff for them, it's they can't get along just doing their business page and posting out there and connect with people that way. They pretty much have to boost posts and pay for ads and stuff.
What do you think makes a good web? I mean, for the small to medium sized businesses, that'd be 15 to 50 employees, which is the majority of the country. What makes a good website? I mean, let me preface that with things just like clothes. Things come in and out of style, right? So you can take note of a website that was built. Forget about Craigslist, which I continue to say is just Braille, but the styles change, right?
Yeah.
So you'll know.
You'll know whether a website was built within the last couple of years.
Well, because say for example, 3 years ago, infographics is really a big deal. We're putting all kinds of infographics on there that are 3D, and then they went to flat. Everything went flat.
Right.
Now everybody's using flat, and then we have parallax movement now, and so on and so forth. What do you think makes a good website, and what do you think is that people can? I'm a minimalist, and I do that for a reason. The attempt is to make sure that we don't have to make too many changes. It's a personal preference, number one, and that we don't have to make infinite number of changes along the way. But I mean, even aesthetically, what do you think makes a good website appealing? What's going to keep people there looking at it? Because it's just a brochure. I mean, how often do you actually read a website?
Yeah, so
read it.
Right. So I think what you're looking to achieve is one's going to just be that just like immediate response or feel of, hey, is this company modern? Is this up to date? Does this feel right? Does it feel like this company invests in kind of their own technology, the own things they do? Do they take some pride in their marketing and stuff? So that's going to be almost like an instant reaction when you see the website. You're going to have some gut feeling about that. And then after that, for me, and what I usually think of is whether you can get a true sense of that organization. Do you get a chance to see real people and learn about who they are and kind of start to build a rapport over this digital media? Can you read some stories? Is the content written in such a way where it's more of a conversational tone, like you're in a room chatting with them? Or is it more like there's nothing that I despise more than just constant jargon? Like you're throwing synergies in there and all that. Like no, like that's the worst. Any
What do you-
technology,
what do you mean?
or if they're just
example?
they're just they start to use
Every
just
cliche
jargon
in
and every cliche,
in the book,
right? Yeah. So you start reading a sentence
I
or
think
two of that.
Kirk did some good ones a couple weeks ago, didn't he? He said, "Let me give you a good cliche about mission statements."
Yeah, you could read an entire paragraph or two and say like, "Hey, this company has said absolutely nothing." Like, and I'm a smart guy. I know what this company does, and I've read this entire paragraph, and they're saying absolutely nothing.
Right. It's a meaningless statement. Meaning that it's just full of each word has actually no.
Yeah, they're not moving.
Has no
forward.
function.
Right.
Meaning, our mission statement is to become the largest provider.
We're going
of
to add
services,
value-added service and be like, okay, yeah, because I want to hire a company that doesn't add value to my business. Thank you. Like, yeah.
Yeah, well, right. So, I mean, I tell people to be normal.
100%.
Right. Have some personality into what you do.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, show them who you really are. I mean, go back to let's do an analogy here. It's no different than when you're meeting somebody for the first time. Let's say you don't know the company, or I don't know you. Right. It's a first impression. Right. And the best first impression that you can make with somebody on a website, if they have not met you before, is to have an appeal, an aesthetic, a series of language, and an appeal to them that is truthful, honest, I say down to earth, not full of nonsense, not full of empty words.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people who are trying to market.
And that is modern and says I invest in my own organization and so on and so forth.
Yeah, there's some people where they're thinking about their marketing and they think that they're marketing to this, CEO person who isn't a real human, who doesn't talk to people like normal people, or who doesn't swear on occasion or whatever like that. And they're like they're worried too much about being too proper,
politically
too
correct,
formal or whatever. Yeah, just
a political correctness. Yeah. Don't even get me started, Ryan. It's just off the hook. I've never lived in such a politically correct world my entire life. The number of things that I would say right now if it weren't for everything.
Yeah.
We live in a bubble. You
different
can't
times.
try to poke your way out of that bubble every now and then. Go ahead, say something. I know you want to say something.
I'm offended.
Yeah.
I'm offended.
Well, go screw yourself. How about that? Take that.
Well, you can't just tell her to screw yourself. Now you have to tell me to screw myself.
I'll screw yourself. Yeah, I have to tell a male to screw yourself.
Right.
Not you screw each other. How about that?
Now it's over the line.
Now that's over the line. Okay.
It's crossing.
Okay, that's crossing the line. Right. Well, I'm 4 feet away from you. I'm 3 feet away. Look, I can't even reach either of you. Now I'm offending you with my words. It's just out of control. Completely out of control. You know what, Ryan? I think that, to your point, and this is what somebody said to me, there's like certain things that stick in your brain, and she may listen to this, and she may know who she is, but I'm not going to name her name. This was a few months back. Certain things stick in your brain over, time, and you don't know that they're going to. I'll give you a couple examples. One is, I was thrown out of the house pretty young, and I was out with this other guy. We were just kind of homeless, if you will. At the time, I think I'm like 16, 17 years old, and we're walking down the street, and all I could talk about was I need to get my car running. Right. I mean, the reality is we need a roof over our head and something to eat. Right. At the time, I said, I kept telling him, Eric, I need to get my car running. And he says to me, he goes, what for? I said, so we can have a car. He's just like, and he says to me, it's just a faster way to get nowhere. I was like, you're right. I don't need to fix the car. I don't know where would I even go?
Where would you go?
Where would I even go? So anyway, a few months back, I'm talking to somebody, and I'm the tell it how it is guy, right? Like it or not. And I'm telling her we're talking about this other company that we're both familiar with, and I was telling her how it was. I mean, here's the reality about this organization, why it's failing. And she says at the end of it, she says, why don't you tell me how you really feel? I said, what's the alternative? Would you prefer that I just bullshit you the whole way and make you feel better about yourself, or make that company feel better about itself? The fact is that they're failing. I could go in there and be politically correct and tell them everything that they want to hear to make them feel better, or we can fix the organization. And it's not abrasive. It's just things you don't want to hear.
Right. Yeah.
You don't want to hear that, you know what, this division isn't necessary. This process is incorrect. This is broken. You need to fix it. It doesn't matter who did, but everybody's defensive. And
Yeah.
we didn't point fingers.
And I think, yeah, it's like
want to do this. You know?
politically correct versus like sensitive ears or emotions, you know? Like if you can't sit down with somebody and tell them that, hey, what you're doing is not working, you know, you need to have this other result, and tell them what's been working has been failing or something like that, and they can't handle that. Definitely.
I think that there's no doubt there's a differentiator between political correctness and reality. But I mean, it falls to many people that would just fall under the guidance of political correctness, i.e., corporate.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of more of a like you hurt my feelings kind of scenario, right?
So
everyone's offended if you've hurt their feelings.
Yeah. So actually, I get called in quite a bit to organizations and large companies and governments. They'll actually bring me into the room because they know I'm going to tell them how it is. And that's what a lot of C-level people want. They want it. They want to hear it. It's a couple levels down that don't. And in all likelihood, because they're the ones that created the problem in the first place. Now, I've been literally walking through hallways of C-level hallways and just been pulled aside, said, Richard, can you come in here and, you know, tell us what the problem is? I don't even know who's in the room. And I go, oh, well, sure, I guess. You know, and give them advisements. It's just out of control.
The problem is probably in this room.
Yeah, let me take
Look
a guess.
around.
Let me take a guess. If you see
Everyone point to the problem now.
If you see
where everyone points.
If you see 20 men in three-piece suits, all with perfect ties, and they look like weathermen, that's what I call them, there's your problem. They're just there to bullshit you, take your money. You know, what you want is people who actually tell you the truth.
Right.
You're not going to get better without hearing the truth. You know, they can lie to you all day and make up all kinds of excuses. But nonetheless, let's get back to your topic. What do you think of like parallax movements and that kind of stuff? Meaning, that's going to be out of style too in a few years.
Yeah, I think right now there's definitely a trend of just instead of presenting the content as you just scroll, or it just being there as you scroll down, you know, subtle transitions and animations and everything. And I think it adds just enough kind of accent or excitement where it's not distracting, but, you know, a little more pleasing, and people are kind of expecting that now. When websites don't really have it, I don't necessarily notice it, but it's a nice...
Right. It's nice.
It feels good.
It feels like you've taken the time to do a little bit of updating on your website. Parallax movements will be archaic in 3 years, and
right.
have to move to whatever.
There's some websites that they go out of their way to like take over your mouse scrolling, and that's like my biggest pet peeve. It's like if they change the acceleration of my mouse, like they can adjust it. So like normally you scroll down at a certain rate or something like that, and they'll adjust that where it kind of goes down a little faster or slower.
That's terrible.
Kills me.
That's terrible.
Yeah, you don't want to lose control of your own scrolling.
Yeah.
Right.
Or you'll be like scrolling down as you're reading something, and then it'll like go down and you can't read the top, and you're like trying to struggle to read like this paragraph of text or something.
Right, I've had that happen.
That's just frustrating.
And typically someone went out of their way to try to like design that experience for
you.
So
that you could get to the part where they want you to see, or...
Yeah, it's they're trying to make the scroll more fluid or flow better, but usually when you touch your mouse and you drag at a certain rate, you expect the page to go down a certain amount, but they've kind of like taken that over.
What do you think about these some of these big companies? I'm not going to name names because I'll get lawsuits, but some of their websites are just absolutely terrible. Talking about the big companies, big enterprise technology companies.
Yeah.
They have so many pages and links and connections and backlinks and articles. I don't even know where to go.
Yeah.
You don't even
some
know
of
where
those
to go
sites have got to be a real beast to manage.
Yeah, but why do it that way? Everybody knows who they are. Who's reading all that stuff? Nobody. I mean, maybe they're doing it for SEO optimization.
Yeah.
So why not?
One piece of it at least, yeah. And somebody
You think
in some other, some division 3 or 4 levels down needs a link to send somebody when they're trying to sell them something, It's probably what it is.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Put your, I don't know, it's so
Right.
annoying. If I get to a white paper, for example, which is a rarity that I'll read one, but I'll have to have a wild amount of interest in it in order to take a look at it. But XYZ company, one of the big firms will say, white paper on virtual reality, right, or augmentation or whatever, or IoT or whatever, latest Internet of Things trends, so on and so forth, and read the white paper.
Yeah.
I might, but then you got to subscribe to something,
Right.
and you're like, forget it. I just wanted to. I don't do that to people. I don't try to harvest data out of people in order to build up a subscription model. Meaning, if they want to subscribe. There's a subscribe button. But I don't put out a white paper and then say, in order to get to that white paper, you must put in your email address.
Right. The lead magnet. Industry term they would use for that. But, yeah, we do that all the time.
I mean, I'm not saying that they don't succeed in getting people's emails, but I wonder what the translation into actual dollars sales is. I mean, they download. What's the likelihood that somebody read the white paper, they put in their email, they spam them to death, they go sell something, make some money, revenue, and generate a profit?
So it's definitely using that strategy is a longer term strategy. Usually if someone's just downloading a white paper on IoT or something like that, they might not be ready to buy anything or need your services today.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah, but with WebAscender or something like that, if you filled out one of our forms, downloaded one of our white papers, you're now going to get a monthly newsletter and you're going to learn something. So again, with this, it's like giving them something of value. We're not going to ask them to do anything. We're not going to try to sell them anything. It's like our newsletters and our content are legitimately educational. And there have been scenarios where, 12 months later, 18 months later, or something like that, somebody's like, oh, yeah, I read this article that you guys had just sent me, and I want to do this project now or something. And if we wouldn't have had that initial connection, it would have never happened. Or if we would have been providing, poor content in that newsletter regularly, they would have unsubscribed. But I feel like as long as you give them an option to unsubscribe, as you legally have to, and you don't abuse that, so they unsubscribe, you get rid of their email address, you don't ever send them anything again, and you honor that, then it works out pretty well on the internet.
Somehow I am subscribed to Pinterest. I don't know how. I unsubscribed like about 80 times now. They just won't leave me alone. I still get it anyway.
When I first signed up for Pinterest,
let's be clear. I wasn't looking at DIY stuff. I was probably looking at like tattoos or something. I don't even know why it's there.
Yeah, I don't remember what I signed up for Pinterest initially for, but I was like,
DIY, do it yourself, like flower projects.
Yeah.
You know what DIY is?
It's not DIY. No, it's DIY.
DIY.
See, I'm correcting you.
Thank you.
It's don't do it yourself. Don't go to Home Depot.
Yeah, but on Pinterest, it's like gives you the option. You want to sign up with your email or your Facebook? I'm like, this was a long time ago now. I was like, I'll try the Facebook thing. It's like, we'll never post anything on on Facebook without your authorization. Sign into Facebook or sign into Pinterest.
Right.
Sure as shit. First thing it does is post on Facebook to all my friends. Like, hey, Ryan's now on Pinterest. I'm like, you
mother
freaking dicks. Like, I thought we were cool here. I was just going to authenticate with Facebook, and that's all we were going to do. And now I don't even use that crap anymore. I'm just going to make an account. I don't trust you.
Yeah. We got to make how many fake Gmail accounts do people are out there, you think? Probably at least 90% of them.
Yeah. Lots of fake Gmail accounts out there.
They're not real. Well, I use them for junk mail. Right. The things I have like 4 Gmail accounts.
Yeah, that's what you use to download your white paper, so you don't have to worry about it.
Right. Put all my white papers in whitepaper@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Somebody's probably got that Gmail account, of course. You can't get anything anymore, and domains are more complicated to get now too. So
yeah, the domain industry is going to be interesting. I'll see if curious how there's like an extension of everything.
No,
now,
there's all extensions now, right? So, but the problem is that the .coms are basically all gone, right? And or for sale for like $1 million.
Yeah.
So.
But I don't see a lot of the weird domains used much in actual commerce. So I'm kind of curious when that'll.
It'll have to kick. It'll have to kick in at some point. It's no different than. It's supply and demand, right? And if they're all taken eventually, but the problem, well, there's the main three, your .com, organ, net, right? That everybody, if you're smart enough, you bought all three, so nobody can .net you, because it's sort of the secondary legitimate one, right? .net, but all the other ones like .ca, which is I think California or whatever it may be.
Canada.
Is that Canada?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they try to get the porn industry out of there.
Yeah, Canada's got interesting rules where you actually have to. There's other ones you can buy without having to live there or anything like that. With Canada, you actually have to like have a resident of Canada buy your domain or something weird.
Really?
Yeah. Or you can get a lot of the other ones just because they're a cool extension.
I wonder which extension will pick up.
I don't know.
CO?
We use .io for a couple ones. That's kind of like a
well, I thought MOB would be one that was going to get hot for a little bit there, mobile.
Yeah.
I don't know if that one's really.
Yeah, I think .app is one too that's been used in a little bit in the mobile space, but yeah.
How many extensions?
Still passionate about the com. Try to get it. Try to get the .com.
Do you guys have .com?
We've got WebAssembler.com, and for one of our other products, Boast, we have Boast.io.
Boast.io. What does that do?
Boast is a platform to collect video testimonials or video feedback from customers or people. So you can do it either via mobile app or link on your website or send out an email or have a little embed on your site that's like, provide a testimonial or feedback. They, write a little blurb about you, click a button, records you through the camera. And then when that comes in, you'll get an email and you can approve it, and then it shows up on your website.
What is the IO for? Is that Iowa?
It's input-output.
Oh,
I don't think it's actually, I think it was kind of after everything was like a country phase. I don't think it actually is after country. I think it's
so
when
why'd you pick IO? Oh,
yeah, it was just.
Well, I mean, the concept of your business is.
Yeah, it's kind of an input-output, and
right.
and that was one that a lot of the web service, cloud startups were using because com was dominated.
So give me an example. Is that up and running?
Yeah, that one's out there and running.
So give me an example what that does.
So an example of that would be on the WebAssembler site. If you go to a website, go into like portfolio and then testimonials, you'll see a bunch of video testimonials in there where you can actually watch a video of a customer who used WebAssembler and is happy about it. And then there's also a button on there where you could then leave a video testimonial.
So you haven't people are allowed to just take selfie videos, if you will, and they send them in or what?
Yep. So yeah, it's essentially a platform to get video feedback. So we've had universities use it to get feedback on courses.
That's cool.
People who do seminars and stuff to use it to get feedback on seminars, all kinds of weird usage.
We were talking about media this weekend because there was a film being filmed at my house. Not that I'm in that. I'm in Office Space, though. No, not really. We just thought I almost got into Office Space. You have to listen to a couple of
You almost got a new Office Space?
No, into the movie Office Space.
Oh, no way.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. You have to really watch the movie real closely and probably get the director's cut to see them yelling at me to get out of the film. Because they filmed it right next to me. I don't want to talk about this anymore. But there was something being filmed at my house this weekend, and I don't even know where I was going with that. Oh, the media industry in general.
Yeah.
Really hot. I'm talking about, content is king, right? So in today's world, cinematography, editing.
Yeah, I think Yeah.
is really
The-
there's an endless, almost infinite number of people who we're doing it right now, right? Radio and content and
Yep.
video,
Yeah, video's huge.
right?
I think we're just, I mean,
It's in its infancy.
you see, I see everyone on YouTube all the time. They're watching a show or doing something, or even my dad said it to me on the phone last week about like old westerns or something like that. He's like, yeah, I don't need cable anymore. I'll just pop onto YouTube and watch some old movie. It's like, awesome.
Yeah, no, I think YouTube is, and of course, which is owned by Google, Alphabet, is and Netflix and Hulu and Prime are probably the winners at the end of all this.
Yeah, see,
Oh, the end. There's no end. I always say that.
Google knows how to buy a company. They bought that at the perfect time, and it's still just killing it.
Boy, it was up at the perfect time. I was
Yeah.
waiting for them to be bought. There's a few companies out there that I thought would have been purchased, but not purchased. I can't remember who they are. Well, like Microsoft, for example, buys everybody and then dumps at least half of them and then keeps the rest. Well, Skype used to be a different company, right?
Skype was its own, and
Yeah, they were their own. They
now Microsoft. But
Right.
I'm trying to wonder if I think they might have went through someone else in between there. Might have been something weird like PayPal or something. I don't even know. Maybe not.
PayPal's the superior.
But yeah,
I said a couple weeks
Skype
ago.
was like the Kazaa guys, like the guys who made the
Yeah.
illegal music sharing, file sharing for whatever you wanted to share. Don't share music on it, but everyone.
Well,
did
you
it to share
missed
copyright materials.
again. We talked about Napster a few weeks ago.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
still around. She told us they were up for. I thought it was like 5 years. Apparently, it was only 2. I mean, meaning that time where prior to them getting in trouble for peer-to-peer network. But they're still up and running. I don't know how they make money, but
Yeah,
who goes to Napster to buy your?
I know subpar music sharing service or something. I don't know.
She's telling me to move. I get yelled at constantly during this podcast. Everybody's telling me what to do.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so YouTube. I mean, there's a restaurant that's run by a small family near our office that I go to on occasion, and their kid comes to them to work, and he's always just watching something on YouTube, like either learning something or watching Thomas the Train or something. But I'm just like, man,
Do you do it?
everyone watches YouTube.
Do you do it?
Do I watch YouTube?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thing. At least once a week I go onto YouTube for like absolutely no reason for like at least an hour or 2. I get caught up in like, I go to one, the suggestions or whatever, and then you go from one thing to another, to another, to another.
Yeah,
Next thing I know, it's like 4 a.m.
Right. Yeah, I'm always trying to learn something or curious about something, and YouTube's the jam.
Well, I think that in education this is going to be a big deal, right? So masterclass is kind of proving that. Look, it's not to say University of Phoenix or whoever didn't have that type of thing before, nobody else did, but masterclass is a different format. And we log in specifically to really these sort of well-known experts, if you will, i.e. Steven Spielberg, I think, is on there or whatever, and tell you about how they directed films. And it seems like that's
That I feel like
gonna.
that was the first commercial on YouTube that I watched all the way, and then actually watched it again. I think it was Werner Herzog, was the first masterclass ad I saw, and it was just like one of the best commercials, like ads digitally. And they've got classes for everything from just complete badasses on there.
Yeah, they're doing very well.
Yeah.
It's a great model. You put professionals on there who really know what they're talking about, that are generally well known, if not extremely well known. I think Martin Scorsese was on there for doing some stuff, and I haven't looked at it recently. Who else is on there? Can you look it up? Masterclass.
Yeah, I haven't watched one yet, but
No,
good
but
commercials and looks like good information.
It's not expensive either,
Yeah.
and they're not even they're not promoting this show, by the way. They should, but
Right,
'cause I think
sponsorship opportunity.
I think they're great. Well, I told Ancestry and 23andMe to stay away from the show because I think they're government entities. I'll probably get sued by them. I can have an opinion.
I don't know if they're government entities, but I'm with you on that. I'd never give my genetic data to them. Not a chance.
What? I'm gonna ask him.
Maybe it's an IT thing.
No, I'm
You
gonna
don't trust any of them.
No, I'm not giving my DNA either. But now that you brought it up, I'm gonna ask your opinion. Well, I told people on a couple podcasts ago, you got to think about what you're really doing. Right? You're giving a swab a spit, which is essentially your DNA, which is.
When they need to remake you in 10 years, 20 years, 100 years?
The idea of wanting to know where your family's from and so on and so forth is
Yeah.
understandable, but giving away your DNA in order to do it is not, I don't think, such a great idea. Now, the government has used those in order to, it's not a conspiracy theory that I buy into. It's just a hypothetical, right?
Well, they've legitimately been used to find
No,
criminals.
they have.
Yeah.
But I mean, the data is going somewhere, right? And it's being stored. I think in Europe, just as a follow up to this, I think that they were, I don't know if it's them or somebody else. No, the police, I'm sorry, were allowed to gather. I'm not sure if it's all of Europe, or it might have been just in Britain. They were allowed to gather data on people when they were arrested on DNA swabs. Instead of just fingerprints, they were allowed to take DNA swabs. And I think they built that bank up pretty high for a few years there. And they were told that if the person, I may have this partially right, if the person was not convicted and or it was a misdemeanor, that it must be deleted. And I think they had to delete all that data. Do I think they really deleted it? Probably not. Maybe they put it on their external.
Yeah.
Do I think they really deleted that stuff?
Europeans definitely market their privacy a lot better with GDRP and everything that they've been doing with that and stuff like that. Whether I assume that company would actually do that behind the scenes.
So what do you think Ancestry? You think Ancestry and God, I'm doing it again. 23andMe are legitimate? Just
I think that they started legitimately, yes, and are, can easily be subpoenaed for information. And even though they may store stuff, quote, anonymized DNA in a, it's not anonymous data. So
yeah, I mean, it's the same. It's the same conversation you could have with Facebook or Apple.
Yeah.
Apple not. You remember a couple of years ago them not opening that phone.
Right. Yeah.
For the government. The government is demanding you open it and give them the code. And they finally figured it out on their own, I think, which I don't really think they did.
Yeah, they either never cracked the phone or there was a firm that knew how to do it. And the best theory I heard of how they did it was that they essentially imaged the phone and could then try the passcode a couple times and then reimage it and then try it a couple times and reimage it. So they used some automator to do it, but they essentially made a complete image of the phone, so it didn't self-destruct after so many whatevers. But yeah,
we'll just stick Watson on it.
All right. Yeah.
I mean, it'll
figure time.
It'll figure.
As long as you use the 4-digit.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Other one might take a little longer.
6-digit.
I don't know.
Is it 6 or 5?
I don't know how 4 was the default. I don't know.
4 would have been much easier. I think it's 5 or 6 now. Nonetheless, listen, we got to wrap it up. So, there's 2 places you can go to find Ryan. One is webascender.com.
Yeah, webascender.com and then ryandoom.com.
ryandoom.com. And if you're looking for video testimonials, you can get to...
Yeah, you can check out boast.io.
Boast.io.
Then we're working on a new product that should be launched pretty soon called Accessible Metrics, which is going to be a web tool to do automated accessibility testing.
Or you can find where you're going to be able to find that.
That'll be accessiblemetrics.com.
With an A, accessible.
Yeah.
.metrics.com. All right, cool. It was good to have you come over today.
Yeah, that was a blast.
I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Tigger.